Welcome back to the Have Not Room. I'm joined here by Chad and Brian, and we're on a little bit of a hiatus. We promised 5 episodes for the season. We're going to deliver 3, which I think is an appropriate amount. So I think that the season also delivered maybe 3 out of 5 at the best. But yeah, we're here to talk about the end of Celebrity Big Brother US Season 3. Talk about basically everything from the Shayna boot on, and kind of do a little bit of a wrap up of the season. Brian, you have any intro thoughts before we get into it?
Ooh, this season, I don't think anybody, really enjoyed it very much. I certainly did not. It felt like a bit of a chore to get through. And it's very unfortunate when, like, 2 people can run an entire season. It's not ideal. And the one moment when something potentially could happen was undercut, and it made it a very boring game to watch. Those are my thoughts.
Brian, are you sure you're just not one of those podcasters who's upset that the game was too unpredictable?
I mean, definitely there is that element to it. I'm very confused every week about what was happening. Couldn't keep up.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
why we
remember.
took 2 weeks off. We were collecting our thoughts the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember texting you guys that the season is unpredictable in the same way that if I buy tickets to a tennis match and one of the players decides to pull his pants down and shove the long end of the tennis racket up his ass, that's unpredictable.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been better than this season, though. I feel.
It probably would have trended on Twitter at the very least. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Chad, do you have any intro thoughts before we kind of get through the specifics here?
I think Brian kind of wraps it up. It's just the most straightforward, boring game ever. Like I said in the text, this is probably my least favorite season thus far. And there's been some pretty bad ones, but this one is just I just sped through episodes, didn't even watch some of them. It was just like, what are we doing? Let's just let's just get on with the next season. Hopefully it's a little better. And, these last few Big Brother seasons have been a little rough, but this was just like the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Yep.
BB Can was good.
BB Can was good.
Yeah. Historically, it is better.
Right. But other than that, it's just very predictable. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about the American Big Brother house. Maybe it's cursed. I mean, although this is the same house that some really insane moments happened in, so that can't be it.
Yeah. No, I think it just comes down to casting people who are interested in playing. I know it sounds so stupid and trite, but it kind of is. Like, if you look at the first 2 seasons of Celebrity Big Brother, which I really liked both seasons, even though the season 2 had some issues with the cast's likability or whatever, but the gameplay was very interesting on that season, and there was a lot of drama and a lot of intrigue. That while there were some toxic elements to it, it was not it wasn't completely uncomfortable to watch like I felt multiple times during the season. And I think the difference is just that in both of those seasons, the majority of the cast was there to play, at least try to play, right? And when you have players this season that seem like they have no interest in playing and they're completely apathetic to whether or not they're succeeding in the game or not, people who just don't understand the rules are not really interested in even being in the house. It's you expect a little bit of that with the celebrity seasons, maybe 1 or 2 people, but I feel like maybe half of the cast was like that this season. And that's something that we've also seen somewhat recently on the civilian Big Brother as well, where there are too high a percentage of players in the house that just are not there for the game in the same way as enough. There's enough people who are there for the game, but not enough people who aren't not there for the game. If that makes sense. I don't know. That was garbled, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. No, you can go. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, if you're not gonna cast like super fans, at least like cast like very money motivated people. You know what I mean? Like people who are like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I want to win this
Yep.
money, so I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I don't know. We need something. We need casting to get their shit together. Is what we need. I mean, I know it's hard with celebrities, but for the summer,
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think
you
they
can't.
should. Yeah, I think they should just like have a season. They should take a note from Survivor's book because Survivor always has a theme each season, like blood versus water, hero versus villains, whatever it may be. And they do that with Big Brother All Stars, sure, but like I think they should have like a super fan only season where every single player is a super fan, or like I don't know, jocks and nerds or something just to like spice it up, like just because every season it's just like here's a Big Brother cast of like someone from the exact same population as the last season. Like you have your super fans, you have like your dorky guy, and you have like three muscle dudes, two athletic chicks. Like it's like the same cast, it's just a different variation, and it's and then when like especially this season because I know we're trying to talk about Celebrity Big Brother here, like when literally like I think 8 people you could tell did not care if they won or lost, and like 4 of those didn't even care if they were there. I mean, look at the finale. One like Chris Kattan didn't even show up on time for Christ's sake. So it's just like, like no one cares that they're there except for the 2 people sitting in final 2. It takes it for me. It took away from like, well, if they don't want to be there, I don't even care about watching. Like, but I don't know. That I think Big Brother needs to like reevaluate at least the U.S. version.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think that heading into Big Brother Canada 10, starting next week, we have decided we're not going to cover it because we're kind of burnt out. We have other projects going on. So unfortunately, what's probably going to be the best season in a year is the one that we're not going to cover.
Celebrity Big Brother killed our enthusiasm
Yeah.
for the show. We need to take a beat.
But we'll be watching for sure, and I'm very hopeful based off of my limited experience of what the cast looks like that it'll hopefully be a good season. And I think that on average, Big Brother Canada does a very good job of casting people who are motivated to play the game. I think that like BB Can 7 is like basically the only exception where there was like a large swath of the cast that were kind of just outplayed by the Pretty Boys. But the Pretty Boys were also a very, very effective alliance. Like they were essentially the second coming of the brigade, and like they ran the house as effectively as the brigade did, if not more so. And so I think it is possible. You just have to find people who either know the game well enough and want to play it, or people who, like Brian said, are motivated either by money or because they have like natural competitive drive. People who are just like kind of naturally go-getters who are going to be the type of people to put the research in to like learn about the show and the game before they actually go in, and not just be like one of these people who is like, oh well, I think the best, I don't want to I don't want to be overthinking it, so I don't want to give myself too much information and then overthink everything, because you get like 1 or 2 of those every season and they always flame out because they don't know what they're doing. Like basically like you could just like lock them in pre-jury every time because that's just how it goes. And yeah, so I think that's just the solution.
Yeah, it's like not all on CBS because like it's hard to predict that, but at the same time, there's definitely some way to like mitigate that and really limit it to like, there's gonna be a dud every season, but there shouldn't be half a cast of duds for half of the last 6 seasons. So it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like even just look at last season. It's not perfect because you can have like people like Claire and Sarah Beth who are both big fans of the show, and they come in and they just get outplayed like completely. So it's not perfect, but I think that you have to give yourself the best chance possible for the season to be good.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess we can quickly go through the season. I don't really know what to cover other than like the Shayna boot, and then like
Yeah.
basically the entire rest of the season is like essentially scripted from there. Like basically the second I turned on my TV and saw that Shayna was not picked for the Final Seven veto, and she was the one person sitting out, I was like, oh, the season's over. Misha won.
Yeah. I think, I mean, we can just talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
how does Cynthia and Carson fall for what Todrick was like his plan?
Yeah.
And he even said it in the episode. He's like, "This is a Hail Mary, but I'm gonna try it,"
Yep.
and then it worked perfectly. How does this happen, Ben?
I wish I could tell you. I watched the feeds. I watched it happen basically live, and I watched. I don't know. It was perplexing. It was frustrating. It was just infuriating. I felt as an audience member like I was being gaslit, and yeah, I don't know. Like, I think a better question is because like everybody is beaten to death. Like we don't need to sit on here and just be like, wow, Cynthia and Carson are such idiots. Obviously, it was a terrible play. I think at least Carson, has acknowledged that's a terrible play, based off of what he said at the finale and on social media. I assume Cynthia probably will get there. Hopefully, I don't know if I don't think she has yet. I don't think she's really posted on social media to my knowledge, but and I haven't listened to the exit interviews. But I at least they at least seem to know that it was a bad play. I think the better question is, was this the stupidest move in Big Brother history?
I mean, you know better because I haven't seen every single season.
Sure. Right.
I obviously Marcellus not playing veto and getting voted off, not great. Even this season, Chris backdoored himself, as he said a million times. Jordan also backdoored himself, or not even backdoored.
No, I didn't backdoor. Yeah,
just got himself voted off for. Yeah. On his best friend's HOH.
He threw the veto when he was on the block. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all pretty bad moves, but I'm sure there's more, Ben. What other egregious moves are out there?
So the two, I think, most comparable moves at the very least to this were Big Brother 6, where Maggie and the Friendship convinced Howie to nominate James, who was similarly in a position that Shayna was in, where he was kind of playing the middle. But at that point, he had mostly shifted his allegiances to the Sovereign Six. And so it was a very similar situation where Maggie and the Friendship basically pawn off all of the negativity onto him and basically like waste Howie's HOH, taking him out, and they gain like a tempo back. Because that's basically what it amounts to when you have these two sides of the house, is it comes down to tempo with winning comps. And so if you can waste the opposing side's HOH, getting rid of some unimportant neutral player, then you essentially get like a free round. Yeah. So that's like one of the probably more comparable moves and decisions. And the other one is probably Fessy nominating Scotty is the other one that comes to mind.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That out because it was so bad.
Yeah, those would probably be the two I would compare this to. And I think that what Carson and Cynthia did is probably the stupidest of the three, in my opinion.
What about Jessica not nominating Paul?
And nominating Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's up there. I think that's similar as well, yeah.
So bad. So many bad moves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is like, again, like if you're at least even a marginal fan of Big Brother, right? You'll probably be aware of at least one of these three moves and understand conceptually that it's incorrect to try to appease the other side by wasting your HOH on a neutral player playing the middle. And that's the reason the play in the middle is so effective, because if the other players are playing optimally and not being morons, like it makes no logical sense for them to target you, because it's more valuable to target the opposing side.
And I think this one had like is especially egregious just because she had just used the veto on Carson. Like if she was in the middle, which she was, but if like the felt like, oh man, she's playing both sides, her playing the veto for Carson should have been like, all right, she's chosen our side,
Right.
clearly, you know.
Yep.
And it was just so
Yeah,
brutal to watch.
especially when Carson probably goes home there otherwise, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she essentially allowed her number one ally to be backdoored in order to save the two of them, and yeah, and they just believed, because I mean, you know, Misha and Todrick have just so much integrity, they couldn't possibly lie.
Right.
Was basically the reasoning, right?
Yeah. And I feel like Chris even like said it was like, okay, I'm sacrificing my game, but like at least you have a shot to like potentially do something here.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh nope, you sacrificed your game for nothing.
Yep.
Just like brutal. At least
Yep.
he had a cool one-liner when he put his vote. That was good.
Yeah, a lot of them had some snarky comments when they were voting.
oh my god, terrible.
It's probably one of the most bitter juries, but like not. I don't want to say bitter jury because bitter jury has a negative connotation. Rightfully upset juries, I would say.
Yeah.
In a long time, but like, you know, visibly showing themselves to be upset during the finale. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It was bad. I definitely think it's in the conversation for the dumbest Big Brother move of all time, just because you look at something like even like the last two we mentioned, which is Jess Graff getting Ramses out and Fessy nominating Scotty. Like both of those were stupid, but both of them, both Jess and Fessy, were kind of in like lost spots regardless, right? So they were just kind of accelerating their own demise by making those moves rather than like, you know, throwing the game. Whereas Carson and Cynthia, I think, actively threw the game, where like they went from a position where they could have been the most likely final two to a position where they had basically 0% win equity. So
It is just brutal. It's just so brutal.
Yeah.
And like to go from the high of everyone finding out that Carson was HOH that night to the low of like nominating Shayna is just like, oh, that was rough.
Yeah, no, I mean, people were like, yeah, I would just rather have had Todrick win the World Cup.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You have any final thoughts, I guess, on that, Chad?
You guys summed it up, but like, is anyone doing the flip of this and talking like, "Oh, that was a great move by Todrick"? I mean, I know he's not well liked at all, but like, what's the perception on for that being a move for Todrick?
Sure.
Yeah, no, I give him credit for making it work, but it's like credit insofar as like there's nothing about what he did that should make it work. Like he didn't plant seeds over the course of the season to get them there. He just lied to them in a desperate attempt to save himself or his, you know, a ride or die, and then they just believed him, which there's no reason for it. So that's like anyone can lie to somebody in any game. It doesn't make you a good player to just lie boldface. If he had been like the whole season in their ear, like, we have to watch out for her, she's playing it both sides, and then use that like capital that he gained to pull off this move, I would give him more credit. But like, yeah, good for him. It worked. It just shouldn't have.
Yeah, it's like me telling you, like, look, if you give me $1,000 right now, there will be a unicorn outside your front door.
Mm-hmm.
And then
like, being like,
okay,
yo, I convinced him that there was a unicorn. It's like, yeah, I mean, that says a lot more about him than it does your convincing skills, but sure.
Oh man. Yeah, I was so disappointed in Carson for that. Like, Carson at least was like kind of a good player. Definitely like below average, but on this season, like
yeah,
probably like really good. But like Cynthia's like, okay, I get it why you would believe that, but like, come on, man.
Yeah, I guess like the one thing I can give him credit for is they went to Cynthia first to have the info come from her.
Yep.
And even though it shouldn't have worked, even though they were right over her shoulder, it wasn't like they were like, I'm going to tell Cynthia and then she's going to run it back. They were like escorting her to Carson. That was at least like the move, right? Was
Right.
Carson's not going to believe me straight up, but maybe he'll believe Cynthia, and Cynthia's more gullible than Carson is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I definitely, if we're gonna look at like in a vacuum, like that was obviously the move of the season. Like that was like the thing that basically locked the game up for Misha and Todrick. On top of obviously like both of them including Misha, obviously both of them very good in the comps. But yeah, it's hard. I think most people aren't talking about it in terms of Todrick being like some kind of mastermind, partially because, like Brian mentioned, that it shouldn't really have worked, and it's more of like this. It was so stupid for Carson and Cynthia to believe something so ridiculous. Then it was impressive that Todrick got them to believe it. And also on top of that, like you said, Todrick not very well liked, and he supplemented the move of going after Shayna with like a lot of like very negative toxicity against Shayna in a very personal way that clearly wasn't game oriented because it continued after Shayna was evicted. So I think that kind of like soured a lot of people on praising the move. Yeah, and also like I would kind of compare it to looking at from the other perspective. I would compare it to like what Jackson Mickey did at the Final Four, lying to get Tommy evicted, and I think why people were and have been historically more willing to give Mickey credit for that move was because even though Mickey is like somebody that was relatively unlikable for good reasons, and because he also was somebody who had did a lot of toxic stuff in a personal manner in the house, that move in particular wasn't really tinged with that. And so I think a lot of people are kind of able to separate that move from him as a person a little bit, whereas because Todrick's move here is so heavily tinged with a lot of the negative personal stuff that he brought to the table, people are less willing to just like kind of praise him for it, I guess. Would be my guess. That's kind of how I feel as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's 100% fair. Because like you said, with Jackson, Mickey, whatever his name was, I've even I think said on this show that I thought that was a really great move. And I don't like him, obviously, but like it's a great move because it's a game move, and I can appreciate it as a game move. And yeah, I'm not impressed with how the move that Todrick did, and I'm very unimpressed with his conduct afterwards on the feeds. And I was a little surprised that they didn't even like bring that up until like, the finale. And not even then, not
He didn't
really.
even, Yeah,
so I'm sure there's a lot of people who just watched the show are very confused why Todrick got just completely snowballed like here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if as someone who only watched the show, other than the info from Benny on the side, like Todrick was painted in a pretty good picture. Like Misha was clearly like the calm beast, and Todrick was painted as the strategic mastermind. I mean, they even shoehorned him in that conversation with Lamar Odom about like his daughter and everything. Like, oh yeah, you're a great person, and all that. And it's just like to someone who doesn't know what's really going on, like you'd think Todrick's like a pretty good, genuine guy, but not really.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very perplexing. I assume it's just because it's a celebrity thing, because I don't think that they would sanitize players like this blatantly in a civilian season. But yeah, they heavily sanitized Todrick's edit. Like they basically turned him into an angel. Like he should, he should pay them back the second place money that he got for the edit that they gave him. Frankly,
I mean, it would kill
they-
his career and public image if
Oh, I
people.
think
I
he
mean,
already did
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think that it did. Although they did their best to sanitize, I think that
It's still got out,
it's
yeah.
still Um,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
think the worst thing for Todrick on that end is him being like so negative on the feeds gave a lot of people a platform to be like, oh, he's like this in real life. This is the like shitty thing he did to me in real life, and then
Jeez.
yeah.
Better save that 50K, buddy. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's true. Don't give it back. Actually, just
Yeah.
you might be needing some float capital until some things blow over and he can get some more work.
Yep.
But I did see that he posted tour dates on his Instagram.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That was his first post after this.
Yeah.
No media afterwards. He canceled all his post game interviews, and then he was just like, "Anyways, see me on tour." And he's never gonna mention he was on Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the play, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really any. There's not nothing you can't really. There's no PR or you can really spin this. It's not really spinnable.
Might be the best game move all season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's better than the Shannon move. Yeah.
The meta game.
Lucky for him, a lot of the stuff outside of the house he can fix by just not being a scamming person. Like, just pay people who help you make stuff when you make a lot of money from it. Doesn't seem too wild or out there, but apparently he struggles with that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I don't know what else to say about that. I just don't know what to say. It's
Yeah.
I'm glad we got like the 5-minute segment of the jury tearing him apart. It was like somewhat cathartic, even though it was short. Like that was like the one reason why I was happy that the finale was short because it was like is basically obvious that Misha had just won the game before it even started. Like it was obvious that, like I said, that Misha won the game at like the final 7. But it would have been nice for the jury to be able to ask questions like in a normal season, because even though it would not have changed anything, like nothing that Todrick was saying was going to ever win him a vote. I think it would have been nice for him to kind of get at least addressed directly on camera by the jury, rather than like them just making snide comments as they voted, or like rolling their eyes during a speech.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
My favorite part.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
It's tough because, like, honestly, when I was like watching the finale, I was like, okay, at least it's only an hour long.
Yeah.
But they probably could have cut some stuff to make room for a jury segment. But
Well,
who knows what production would have made the mask? Because I feel like production has a very heavy hand in the civilian seasons with the questions.
Sure, that's true. Well, I think they're vetted and assigned to people, right? I don't think that production writes the questions explicitly, but I think that the questions have to be vetted through production, which is dumb. It should just be like Survivor, and they should just like the reason that Survivor Final Tribal Council is awesome is when the jurors just get to like just openly tear apart the finalists and just like shit talk them to their face. Like that's the best part.
Just pre-record the finale. We don't need a live finale. Like we really don't.
No, you usually know who's going to win anyways. It doesn't matter if it gets leaked or spoiled. Like everyone, like there hasn't been a recent finale where the winner has been up in the air. It's always been very obvious who's going to win going into the finale.
So literally like BB 17 and then maybe BB 19, 18, like you were like, oh, maybe Paul will win, maybe Josh will win the next season, but no. Like the last time I literally was like excited at a finale was when Steve,
Yeah.
got that last
Yeah.
question right. And I'm like one of the biggest Vanessa fans in the world, but like I was just excited. It was like holy shit, he did it.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah. Speaking of getting questions right, and we're talking about the finale, they did not get a lot of questions right in that final HOH, which was also shortened.
Julie was like, you know what? We're wrapping it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Misha won with a whopping 3 out of 8 correct answers.
Yeah, where was this shitty performance during the Final Four HOH? Like, why'd this have to come now?
Or the final 4 veto, which actually was the one that mattered.
Right.
Because okay, like I guess we're gonna skip over probably everything because it's mostly unimportant because it's all just kind of like to be expected. But I'll say straight up, it did kind of suck that the one comp that was close was the Final Four HOH, which is essentially worthless, right? Because like even if Todd wins that Final Four HOH, what likely is just going to happen is just Todd and Cynthia's placements just swap, and Cynthia goes out in 4th, and Todd goes out in 3rd. Because I don't think Todd is beating. I think Todd is probably getting 0 questions out of 8 in that final HOH, given his performance in the Final Four veto.
Him and Cynthia got destroyed in that veto, just
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah, it was painful, very painful to watch. But yeah, no, like, yeah, I don't know. It's an instance of people not knowing enough about the game to be prepared, right? It's very clear that Misha and Todrick were at least somewhat prepared to know their days to a degree, right? They obviously didn't do phenomenally, but they did marginally better. Like they did noticeably better than Todd and Cynthia, and it was clear that Todd and Cynthia just had no knowledge of the days at all.
They're just letting it rip.
Yep.
Seeing what happened.
Yeah, so like it's another case where it's just like when you have 2 players that are just so hyper prepared compared to everybody else and so willing to play harder than everybody else, like it's just kind of they're just gonna wipe the floor with it. It's just gonna happen.
Yep.
Big Brother is as much variance and RNG can happen in Big Brother. It is still at the end of the day like very much a game of skill, and if you have good players, they're going to win.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess where does Misha rank as a winner? Let's Celebrity Big Brother. Where do you think of the 3 winners? Probably the best of the 3 winners, I would say.
I agree. I think she's the best Celebrity Big Brother player. I think that's. I think with a bullet, straight up. Just like, I don't particularly like her.
Right.
I think she's kind of insufferable in a lot of ways, but definitely really well-rounded game. Obviously, dominated the physical game. She broke the record for highest percentage of comp wins out of played. She won 50% of the competitions that she played in. She won 6 out of 12 competitions that she played in. She won 4 HOHs and 2 vetoes. And in a 30-day season.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are good numbers for a normal season.
Yeah, obviously she was dominating the strategic game with Todrick pretty much since day one. She obviously won the first HOH that set in motion the partnership and the relationships that she needed in order to basically control every vote and like get her way from basically start to finish. She was literally sitting on the block at the final 7 after the veto with like very clearly the vast majority of the win equity for anybody who was paying attention. Like I would say she had like maybe 90% of the win equity at that point in time in the game, sitting on the block after the veto and received 0 votes to evict. Obviously, compared to Todrick, played a much superior social game. Even if it's just being less unlikable than the person sitting next to you, that's good enough. That's all you need. You just have to be in Big Brother the second least likable person, as long as you're sitting next to the least likable person. So yeah, I would say very well-rounded game. I think with a bullet, the best celebrity player.
Yeah, she's everything that they wanted Christmas to be
Yeah,
on her 2 seasons.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, I was certainly impressed with her in terms of player. She came in and she kicked like ass from the second she walked in the door. She was just fucking beaten. I mean, and she's a professional athlete, an active professional athlete. Like, so I guess it's not that surprising that she crushed it. But like, the fact that like it's a game of Big Brother where you don't have safety after you're in HOH, and she still cruised, like, very impressive.
Yeah, no, I agree. She was only really vulnerable once, and it was, after that veto when she pretty much already locked it down. So that right there says she's, incredible. I think she's even just Big Brother as a whole. I think she's a pretty good winner. Probably not the best ever, but like statistically, I mean, like how can you ignore it? She's definitely up there. I mean, her as like a player in Big Brother overall, just like, I didn't like her. I didn't really hate her. Her winning the season is kind of just like, sure, why not? But yeah, no, I mean, she played a great game. She played, what she had to win, but the comp wins absolutely carried her. But like that's a fair way to win. I mean, look at Jackson Mitchie or Mickey. So like,
yeah. I mean, or Cody, even to a degree, but like,
Cody, yeah.
like I mean, most recent winners have been like very good in comps. But yeah, I think that just the most impressive thing for me is just the ability to deflect the target when you're so clearly the biggest strategic and physical threat. Like it's not an easy task. Like obviously, a lot of that is owed to Carson and Cynthia kind of being stupid, but like there's still like some level of impressiveness. It's just like we're talking about with Todrick. Like there's still like if you look at the move, it's still like somewhat impressive in a vacuum, but obviously yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
She won,
Like
so.
we thought. I think my evaluation, at least for the preseason, was I didn't think that she would be able to avoid being targeted as a threat because I thought that it would be pretty clear that she would be like an obvious threat that needs to be taken out. And she was an obvious threat that needed to be taken out, but she still didn't get taken out. So.
Yep. I mean, what can you do? She, yeah, I don't know. I think the bigger story, well, maybe not the bigger story, but like the funnier story is how Todrick lost.
Yeah.
Perhaps more than how she won. I mean, the guy knew that the jury was going to go home, right, and watch the show, presumably, and get filled in.
You didn't even watch the feeds too, like how do you not? Like, the fact they can watch the feeds is like that's never been done in Big Brother. So it's like, come on, man.
Well, it was done in both previous Celebrity seasons. So
it is? Okay, yeah.
So they know, well, and it also was done in BB2 and 3. BB4 was the first.
Times.
Yeah, BB4 was the first season with the sequestered jury. Because they realized that it was bad for the show, for the jury to be unsequestered and go home. But, like, when you know that the jury is going to be unsequestered, you really have very little excuse. But I think it comes down to just he doesn't have self-awareness of how he comes off. I don't think he realizes that he's a piece of shit. Like, I just don't think he knows.
Oh, well, he's going to know now.
Sure.
Or he's going to, like, double down.
Quintuple down, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That happens a lot, I feel like, with people who are like that.
Yeah.
We're like, no, it can't be me. It can't be me. I'm like a good person.
Everyone else is wrong.
Yeah, everyone else is just haters.
Yep.
They're coming for me. They're canceling me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Canceling me for my actions that I did very blatantly
Mhm. Over and over again.
Yeah, all the time.
A clear pattern of behavior demonstrated across multiple instances of both in and out of the house, corroborated by dozens of people.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't even know. And now I'm seeing even like the cookouts getting like backlash on them for being friends with him. It's just like
God.
what a mess.
Yeah.
What a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
I
what to
mean,
say.
his ego will be, if it isn't deflated now, it's going to be reinflated when he has that first tour and that people actually show up. So it's like that's going to erase everything. So, oh well,
I will
he
say like
sucks. We all know it.
yeah, a lot of Big Brother fans are very insane on Twitter, but I also feel like a lot of them will soften up if you just like acknowledge their presence, and then they will become like fans of the people they hate because they were acknowledged by them. So that's all Todrick has to do, is just
Yeah.
like become an active member of the BB fan community and
Well,
interact
I
with
mean,
people.
everybody else besides Todrick has given an apology for like things that they said and like their uh, them basically like doing kind of watered down versions of what Todrick did with regards to like some of the misogynistic stuff he said about Shayna.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of the fan base has roundly accepted those apologies. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of whether Todrick cares to actually give a sincere apology and acknowledge the things that he's done that are bad, which I'm skeptical he'll do, but it's on the table.
Yeah, hopefully he
Yeah.
does. Hopefully he does some self reflection here and
Yeah.
becomes a better person from it. That is a possibility. I don't see it as a particularly likely possibility, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, no, I never want to write off a person completely from realizing their negative attributes and working towards changing themselves and bettering themselves, right? Like if you do that, then nobody can ever improve their themselves.
Yeah, it's not like he's done anything illegal. He's just been.
Some of the scamming stuff seemed kind of illegal,
All
but
right, that's fair. I spoke too soon.
yeah, definitely some some contract law, at least maybe some civil suits potentially. Yeah, but
I mean, all he has to do is like as simple as what Carson did on the live finale and just say, sorry, that was shitty of me.
to
Simple
be
as that.
fair, Carson had much less to apologize for.
Oh,
Carson
yeah.
made
Yeah.
Carson made a few bad comments about Shayna, and then also apologized for basically being duped like a fool,
Yeah.
right? So it's like there's less to.
Yeah, the blame's not on him. It's
Yeah,
on
there's a lot less there to forgive.
Todrick. Yeah.
Right. Whereas Todrick has like a laundry list, like a 50 tweet Twitter threads describing like in depth numerous things that he did in and outside of the house that have come through.
God.
So yeah, it's not as simple as just like whoopsie daisy. That
Yeah,
one
well,
thing
yeah,
was
it's
bad.
just
Yeah, but yeah,
maybe
we'll
made
see.
just like a good enough apology video that would
Sure.
probably
No. Yeah, of course.
at least put a band-aid on it.
Yeah, go on RHAP, get your image rehabbed, and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess is that it? I mean, I guess I don't know this. I don't know how good you feel about it, Brian. But technically, by picking Todrick as your winner pick, you'll have when we come back in the summer for B24, you'll have the first pick on the board. So
Feels
followed by
bad,
me
but
and then Chad.
There we go.
Hey, did Big D get a jury vote last season? No. So I did better this time.
Yeah, one jury vote.
Marginal increases each season. That's what we're aiming for here.
I mean, back-to-back second place is pretty good.
Yeah, does that like Chad picked a winner. Ben picked a winner. I got back-to-back second place. We're pretty solid on our picks here. So I don't know if anyone wants to, like, you know.
Both me and Chad correctly picked civilian BBUS season winners as well. So maybe BB24 is your season, right? You have the first pick on the board. Chad got 22 right. I got 23 right. So, this is your chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna have to like fine tooth comb their bios and like videos and like, and somehow I'll end up like overthinking it and picking like the person who goes out third, like not even in a very dramatic fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, at least something to look forward to. I guess anything else you guys want to talk about? We promised this would be a quick one, so not a lot to cover, despite the fact that we skipped like 7 episodes.
Yeah. Yes. Fun casting for BB Can. The Kyle guy that everyone thought was the Kyle who was on last season on Twitter, but he wasn't the Kyle. But then he pretended he was, and that's fun. I love that. BB Can seems to be very plugged into their fan base. Can't relate here in the United States. I don't think they pay any attention to what we say on Twitter, quite frankly. So I think that's fun. We may not be covering it. Definitely check out BB Can 10 because I'm sure it's going to be good. It always is.
Yeah, like there's been maybe one season of BB Can, maybe 2 that have been like average to slightly below average, right? And even those seasons would be, in my opinion, above average for modern U.S. Big Brother, right? So like even like the worst BB Can seasons are like equivalent to the like a mediocre to average BBUS season. So yeah, and BB Can 9 was awesome.
Theme music, such a bop, so fucking good.
Yeah. And I think the theme this season is gaming or like video games. So.
Ooh, all right, right up our alley. I like that.
Yeah, maybe we could do like a one-shot episode of just a review of the whole season, kind of like similar to this,
right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, a lot more to talk about than we have on this one.
I don't think it can be less. So
yeah, watch for that. Watch for us coming back in the summer. Watch our Survivor podcast, The Blindsiders, going to be starting real soon, I believe this weekend, 2 days from now. We're recording our podcast. We'll be out on Wednesday because that's like a week before the premiere. Very fun. Chad, maybe we'll get you to guest sometime if you're free. That'd be fun. Can meet Dylan.
Yeah.
It'd be like, the Spider-Man meme. the other co-host,
Yep.
with Ben and I, that'd be very fun. But I mean, hey, at least I get to talk about the season with my buddies, even though the season sucked. Like, you guys made it worth it.
Yeah, no, it's always fun. Like, I struggled to get through the season for sure. It definitely demotivated me more than any, because there's been a lot of recent bad Big Brother, but this season definitely demotivated me from wanting to watch the show more than the other seasons, just because the other seasons were kind of just boring. This season was boring and also actively frustrating and infuriating at times and uncomfortable through the personal stuff. So it's just like hit every negative emotion.
Dude, watching that double eviction live was straight up fucking torture. It was so bad. Like,
just having to sit through that veto comp, like knowing the outcome.
2 hours, just like,
Yeah,
it was bad.
Yeah, Chad, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the season, like I said, is probably my least favorite that I've seen in recent years. I mean, I've kind of watched like half of Big Brother from like 10, missed a couple, then 16 on for sure. But yeah, this one was rough. The finale kind of just like capped off everything bad about it. Like, clearly no one wanted to be there. especially Teddy, who like didn't even talk to anyone at the finale and sat there. That was funny to see. But I think she kind of summed up most of the fan base's emotions on this season. Like, let's just get out of here and on to Big Brother 24?
Oreo.
4, and then BB Can 10, and
Mhm.
let's get some interesting gameplay here. Let's get some like backstab. Let's get some more like huge fights. Let's get some more like Keisha's birthdays or like Dan's funerals. Like not Todrick's unicorn in the front doors.
Mhm.
Yeah, literally anything. Just give me
Literally anything.
to grab onto. Like, yeah, we talk about like bad gameplay. BB Can 9 had bad gameplay galore, but it was fun. It was still fun to watch. It was entertaining. It was compelling. The cast was fun. It was entertaining. There was fights. Like, there was a lot. There's a lot of
just
meat
need
there.
fights.
It's just
bad.
like,
Just have them fight.
yeah, just like you need something. You need literally anything to grab onto for entertainment quality. Presumably, you'd want all of it. You'd want entertainment from the social interactions, or if like there's confrontation or fights, or like interesting gameplay, compelling storylines, good characters, good players. But like just anything. The issue with this season is it had basically nothing.
I know we're trying to get out of here. Yeah, I know we're trying to get out of here, but like I think a big thing, at least for me, was that like not many players are even likable to begin with. Like I'm someone who like I'll like if I like a person in the cast, I'm like, okay, cool, I want this person to do well, and then I get kind of attached to the season in that way. But this season was just like no one was likable. Like sure, Lamar kind of was like, okay, he's a good guy, or having this like redemption arc kind of thing, and like Chris Kattan was funny, but he like self-evicted. So it's just like for me that kind of took away from this season too. It's just I didn't really care about anyone.
Yeah,
I don't know if
right.
that's the perception for everyone, but
No, I think that's. I don't think that we've said anything particularly controversial or unpopular in terms of opinions on this podcast. To be frank, I think that similar to there's been a few instances in the past where the fan base has been kind of united in terms of opinions, and this was, I think, one of them. So, all right, you guys want to plug your social medias one last time for the season?
yeah, you can find me on Instagram at ChadleyJP and on Twitter at ChadPerry25 right here.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at @theFakeBMR. That's BMARR. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon with the Blindsiders.
Yeah, and then you can follow me on Twitter at Ben Sharon. It's just my name, and Instagram too, but I don't really use Instagram. I barely even use Twitter these days, other than I very rarely use Twitter for my own mental health. But I'll probably get back into it with Survivor starting up, with BB Can 10 starting up. Not really much to tweet about this season, frankly. I just did not want to. It wasn't worth engaging for me for the most part. You can also follow the main channel on Twitter at WG Everything, and then you can follow the main channel on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, and the main YouTube at Wicked Good Everything. This is the main podcast channel, Better Radio, on all podcasting platforms, and this show in particular is The Have Not Room. We will be back in June, probably, is usually when we would come back for BB24. Please, if you have not checked out BB Can before, put in the effort. I don't know if the season is going to air on Paramount Plus or if it's just the old seasons are going to be on it. It would be really awesome if the season kind of simul-aired, or like at least the episodes were released like the midnight after or whatever on Paramount Plus.
Great. Yeah.
That would be really awesome. But if they're not, I'm sure you could do a little digging and figure out how to watch BB Can if you're not in Canada. If you're like an American viewer, for instance, it's not that difficult to figure out if you just do a little bit of research, and definitely check it out if you can. It's, as we said, BB Can is just consistently a better product in terms of Modern Big Brother. So.
If you watch literally any YouTuber who has an ad, you'll find something that will probably help you watch BB Can.
Yeah.
Get a VPN or something, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.